Hey YouTube, this is David, and it's Cameras and Coffee live stream. Let me see if I can lock this exposure. It's going to be chasing me around the whole time, I bet. I don't know if I can lock exposure on this or not. I can mute the microphone. I can pick whatever these are, filters. I don't want a filter. Turn that off. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to have a little live stream today with the cicadas apparently, and figured I'd do my Coffees and Cameras vlog at the same time, talk about some stuff that's happened recently in my, get rid of that, in my world. And I thought I'd run the live stream in the morning because that way my European viewers would be able to see it in their evening, because I haven't done a live stream for the European viewers yet. So how are y'all doing today? I got, wait for the comments to start publishing, but I've got some really interesting photos from the Philadelphia trip. We did the photo walk. We had some family and friends go. I had no YouTubers technically show up for that, but I did have, excuse me, I did have several family and friends come along, so we had a lot of fun. We got a lot of interesting photos. Your photography opportunities in a large city like that are just so much easier than a small town. It's incredible. Good morning, Axe. You're stateside. At least I think you are. I'm not sure which one of you guys is from Finland. But one of y'all is that regularly checks into this. But, oh, now it's going to get super dark. I'm trying to get the background. Let's see. If I do this and block out some of that sun, it'll brighten it back up some. And then it'll darken. I can't lock it. Good morning, Grant. Nice to see you. I tried to lock the exposure before the stream started. Yeah, it won't let me. I'm kind of at the mercy of the phone. Martin, nice to see you checking in. Martin's from England or the UK. I'm not sure. He might be in Scotland or somewhere. I don't know enough about England to be really talking about it much. I know that the UK is a large place. You got the right time. I'm in London. So you are in England. Okay, nice. Sweet. Yeah, I figured I'd do a morning one because the European community always gets cut out. I do them at 9 o'clock at night here, and it's like 2 a.m. in your world. So, but yeah, I was just talking a little bit about how the photography opportunities for, it's 3:30 in the afternoon in London, nice, are so much more plentiful that it's almost a freebie to do street photography in a large city. If you can't come away with at least one keeper from a few hours of walking around shooting street in a large city, you're not trying. Or you're trying to do some sort of specialized project that you've realized the low-hanging fruit's already been all had, and you're trying to get some kind of really special photo like the Bresson, Cartier-Bresson, where the little girl's walking through the square light or something like that. Yeah, architecture is easy to nail. I got quite a few architectural shots. I've got a video built, and it's uploading or uploaded and scheduled to go live. I think tomorrow it'll come online around lunch. But I got, I shot, over the weekend I shot over 900 photos of just, some of it's touristy, some of it's, some of it's street photography, some of it's family photos, But yeah, I got back and broke out my cards, and I started slicing it up into folders, and there's like 7 different events that I wound up photographing. Ax says he grew up in New York City. The way the light plays between the skyscrapers at sunset is pretty amazing. I've never been able to see that. I need to get up there and do that. We were there for one day, or I was only there for one day, so we ran around and just explored. Yeah, the whole point is to shoot for yourself most of the time. I will shoot for others at times, and capture moments for other people. But yeah, walking around the city on your own. Yeah, even with the group we was with, excuse me. Even with the group we was with, there was still some compromising on travel and time to start. Like, we had to kind of coordinate the parking, and everybody had to go move their cars and get it to where they'd have enough time on meters and things like that. So it took us a little while to get moving, about an hour, honestly, from the time I planned to start till we actually got moving. But we still had a good time. It ran later into the day is what wound up happening. But it was all good. We still had a lot of fun. But I think you're right. I think if you just got out by yourself, or maybe with one other person. Me and Grant went out in Chattanooga and done some shooting, and that was a lot of fun. When the group is small enough that you can be real nimble, and it's not a hindrance if you want to stop and take a minute or two to watch a composition and maybe get an action in it, and they can move on down the street and work on something else, and y'all can kind of leapfrog and stay together kind of. It worked really well like that. Yeah, the early morning when there's nobody around. Yeah, Martin's just saying that he gets out in London at like 5 a.m. when it's real quiet, and he can get those real surreal scenes at that point. There's not many people, I'm assuming, at that point. Are you allowed to photograph the police, the bobbies, wherever y'all call them? Oh, wow. Axe got his wife to actually join in. Not on foot, some cars. Okay, so you can photograph them. I always ask the officers. Some of them don't want to be photographed. I always ask them. But sometimes, some cities have issues with it, so I always ask. But I wasn't sure if they allowed it in England because they have different rules than we do here. So, you have to play by whatever rules the country you're in uses. It's interesting how it'll vary from country to country. Yeah. Yeah, if you actually ask, it's always fine, right? But that's something we had a lot of fun with. And since I was kind of a tourist in town for just a few hours, we did take some tourist photos. Oh, the softest. Oh, that's funny. Not those guards at Buckingham Palace. They'll straight put the hurt on you if you mess with them. There's videos. But yeah, toward the end of the walk, not them. Yeah, you stay away from them guys. Leave them be. Well, they're technically military, I think. They're not civilian police, but yeah. But that was a real eye-opening experience, to be able to get some of that stuff. Yeah, I thought they were military. Yeah, they're actually infantry. But once you start seeing the street photography, I watched a bunch of not tutorials, but almost TED Talks on it. Really? Combat duty guard. Huh. Well, that they're special purpose. Those guys are tapped out by, they're probably SAS or something. They're not just Joe Schmo. It's your turn to guard the queen. It's like special duty. It's kind of like here in the U.S., the guys that draw duty to guard the tomb of the unknown soldier. It's a real elite unit, and they take it very seriously. It's not something that they just haphazardly do. Infantry or just regular. Yeah, interesting. That's really interesting. Huh. The guys in red are just regular old frontline soldiers, he says. I didn't know that. I had no idea. I figured they'd be like special duty. That's cool. You won't see them. They're not going to stand out in a red coat. They know what they're doing. Yeah. But yeah, I noticed the longer I was paying attention and watching and started doing people watching, I started seeing more interesting things, and I started wanting to just kind of stay in one place a few minutes you know, to see what would go by or happen around, you know, kind of maybe positioning myself on a street corner. I got a picture of a guy. He's in a construction zone and he's wearing the construction vest. He's just kind of chilling, leaning on the handrail. I think it's a pretty cool photo. Yeah, it's kind of shows him being relaxed at work. And then I've got one on a guy riding a motorcycle with a cigarette in his mouth. He's got his hat. I think his hat's on backwards. I believe he's wearing his hat backwards in the photo. But yeah, he's riding a motorcycle through town, smoking his cigarette. He's just super chill. You know. Then there's the guy I put on my Instagram who's jamming to iTunes. He's whistling as he's going down the street, listening to his music. I like it because of the color. The trash cans are all blue, and so is his shirt. And it looks pretty good. I like the contrast of that one. But trying to find an interesting scene and then getting someone into the scene doing something interesting, that's tougher than I thought it would be. I've got a bunch of them that they're, I would say, so-so, but they're not great. But one or two of them I like really well. And I also found the kit lens on my Fuji was the best lens for the job. Number one, it gave me autofocus, which was fast and allowed me to, come on, brighten up the scene. I need to do something to fix that. I got to figure out something. I bet if I index the camera, don't knock my coffee over, this much, I bet it'll brighten up the scene. Look at that. I'll get over here and rule a third out some of this light. And there we go. Now I'm exposed to where it's not black silhouette, look like you're doing a CIA interrogation. I'm not rule of thirding very well. How about I move over here? There we go. Much better. Now I can even see what's going on. Isn't interesting? It's from the other places like street photography from Japan and China is really, yeah, it is. I was going to suggest you change your seating. Beat me to it. Long Rider. Dude, Long Rider got featured in Jason Lanier's video. He had a big old post he copied out of one of your comments to somebody and posted it in his video. Congrats, you're famous now. You're Insta famous. There we go. But yeah, I'm really liking the whole street photography thing. And like Martin was saying, I believe it was Martin said it. Let me see. Yeah. We all want to think that right is right. Good one. We all want to think that the faraway place is, hey, how you doing? I know who you are. I watch your videos. Quit talking about videos no one can see. Yeah. Dude, I like your videos, seriously. I actually subscribe to your channel. Thank you for stopping in. But yeah, you got to just look at the town. Look at where you're at from an outsider's perspective, and it's interesting how much you will start seeing. I was surprised when I did the walk with Grant, how much he noticed that I just overlooked. You know, because I spent a lot of time watching him shoot photos. He shot probably twice as many photos as I did. Because I had places in my head that I wanted to take pictures at. And I wasn't really looking for opportunities just everywhere, but he was. And Grant was in here a minute ago. Innocent until proven guilty. Oh. Are we're gonna go down this road? We can. I can get bashed by all them models again. They jumped right on that. Man. JPEG versus RAW. Okay, I started out shooting JPEG, and then I fell into the Jared Pollan school of only shooting RAW. And then I figured out that I was spending a lot of time turning RAW files into what the JPEG equivalents were that I was shooting. And I thought, why am I spending all this time doing this intermediate step when all I'm really doing is like, sometimes I would pull back the highlights and push up the shadows, and then I would just drag the contrast slider or get into the curve and build the S curve, and it would put it basically right back where it was. Maybe with a little highlight recovery that wasn't there before, but that's about it. And I thought, I'm spending a lot of time editing when I would rather be shooting. So I literally just started shooting JPEG plus RAW. I write them both to the card. So if I find an image that I really like, I'll drag it in to a folder for RAW edits. That way I only edit 6 or 10 RAW files instead of 918 or whatever it was I shot. And then I don't have to wade through this sea of RAW files trying to find the ones I like. Because I did that for years. And I thought, man, I've spent a bunch of time on this to have files that look basically like the JPEGs coming out of the cameras. Because the camera does a really good job of a JPEG now, especially if you do your part and you get your exposure, pretty well on. It looks good to me. So I've basically moved back to JPEG, just to tell you the truth. Most of the photos you see in my videos are straight out of camera JPEGs, and I might, since I'm using DaVinci Resolve or whatever that, Blackmagic's DaVinci or crud, I think it's DaVinci by Blackmagic. It's their software for editing. You can edit the photos with the Blackmagic software. You just go to the edit tab once you've drugged the photo into the timeline, and it'll let you do color edits to it. You can't, like airbrush out a sign or something, but you can, adjust colors and contrast and white balance and all that in there. So I just do the edits while I'm building the video. Say some of them are a little low contrast, I'll S curve them up and go with it. Saves me a lot of time, gets me pictures I like. Yeah, and they do. For me, for the most part, they look like it. They look good. I really enjoy. I like the output that the Fuji generates and the Nikon. I like straight out of camera on both of them. If I do my part and get the exposure correct, the image coming out of the camera on both of them looks really close to what I want. Sometimes the white balance Fuji's white balance, auto white balance, is a little bit ticky, and it'll warm them a little bit too much. They'll almost be yellow at times. It kind of messes with my head, and I'll have to go in and do the dropper and correct white balance issues. But most of the time, those are culls anyway, and I don't even edit them. I save them, but I don't edit them. But it gets white balance right outdoors a lot, but if there's mixed lighting, like sun's coming through a window and you got fluorescent lights in the room, it typically will auto white balance to a really warm setting, and it looks weird. Everybody looks like they have jaundice, But most of the time, it gets it good. Nice. Y'all have a side conversation blowing through here I can't keep up with. Oh no, Amar's a shill. Yeah. How many followers do you have to have on YouTube before you're a shill? Before it's automatic? Because I've seen where you've been accused of that, but it's like you use the equipment that works for you, and I like how you put it. Is only one. He only takes one. Basically, post a video that has a camera brand in it, and now you're a shill. But yeah, but I like your stance on the equipment. Use the equipment that works for you. Doesn't matter whose name's written on the equipment. As long as it does the job that you want to do, it don't matter. I like that. Oh yeah. All that shill money paid for the. Oh, it's like you said. It's the truth. That's why I like you, is because you don't cave to pressure from the industry, and because of that, I really like your channel. That was a good one. I vote we meet in. Let's don't meet there. Let's meet in Louisville. It's going to have better street photography fun. We'll do some street photography, then maybe drive down there and have a, get our pitchforks out. Oh, you guys kill me sometimes. Sweet, dude. Oh crud, wrong button. There we go. Grant said he bought a 10 megapixel point and shoot to shoot a concert and it worked great for him. My Sierra, my little girl, I took the D200 and a 18 to 200 millimeter DX lens. I also took the 85 f1.8 in case she wanted to run it, but she wound up running that 18 to 200 and she shot street photography with it. And she hasn't got to edit her photos yet, so I didn't post any of her shots, but you should see some of these 10 megapixel files that she shot. I pulled them in because I had that camera inadvertently set to RAW only, so we've got them all pulled into the Darktable RAW editor, and some of them photos are really interesting. Her perspective is different from mine, so she got some really interesting photos, and it was just neat to see the difference that she took based on what I took, even though, me and her think very similarly. But yeah, she liked that D200. I don't remember how many frames she took. She didn't shoot near as many as I did. I don't believe. Oh, guys, I'm out. I'm out. Keep the dream alive. Thank you for coming by. I appreciate it a lot, dude. Thank you so much. You have a good one. Yeah, Martin shoots Canon equipment, and I've messed with a couple of Canon cameras. I did take a few photos with one for a friend at a climbing competition a couple of months back. He wanted me to get a few stills while he videoed his daughter climbing. When he leaves, let's talk about him more. Yeah, guilty till proven innocent, right? Yeah. Oh. But that he shoots Sony. That's right. You shoot a Canon C200, I think, isn't that what you do your video work with? A Canon brand cinema camera. I believe you got a C200. I believe. He was trying to leave. Now we've drug him back in. But that. But yeah, I'm telling you, the street photography is fun once you embrace it. Once you get get out of that whole worrying about people seeing you take photos. Once you kind of start breaking out of that mindset, it starts to get a lot of fun. It really does. And I noticed with that 18 to 55, I would run it at 18 millimeters, and after a little bit, I kind of figured out that I would focus it about 5 feet away on the ground. All right. And then I would just leave it there. And when someone might maybe walk around the corner and walk by, I could literally just point it up, hit the shutter, and typically I would get the photo I was pretty much wanting. Just do it real quick. Yeah, is the whole interacting with the people. And I've also figured out interact with them. Just ask them, can I make your portrait? If you don't, I did learn this in one of the videos that I watched when I was researching it about what makes a great street photo versus just a meh photo, and and watched all the different opinions on it and things like that. Like I like watching John Free's videos because he has a very specific ideology in his head about what makes a good street photo to him, and he likes multiple layers a lot of times, or multiple things. He likes at least 3 things in the photo that creates a story, but that's a different whole subject. But one of the people that I watched said, ask them if you can make their portrait because it sounds more professional and they're more open to it, and you'll get a lot higher yes rate then can I take your picture? What kind of street photos do I not like? I have come to realize that street photos without people in them are dull. It's just another static photo. You take a picture of a building with a car sitting in front of it. What story does that tell? Someone parked their car. You know, I mean, I was that guy taking those photos, trying not to intrude on someone. And I realized looking back through them, they're boring. You know, I have hundreds of photos of downtown photos in Chattanooga that I've taken that I may as well just delete, other than for posterity, you know, in case, you know, a tornado comes through and blows one of the buildings over that I've got in a photo, because they're just boring, you know. The person makes the story alive, you know. That's what I think help. Is cafe shot through a window. I'm not keen on that. Yeah, it works if there's a story, and typically you need someone. That whole cafe through the window thing, and I'm guilty of that. I haven't done it a lot, but you know, yeah, Maxim's got a point I'll get to in just a second. But I don't think that image is bad if there's something out that ties it together. If you've got a person on the outside smoking and it's a city where you can smoke indoors and the person on the inside smoking, you know, and you know, or you know, and it tells some kind of story, or they look like they're talking to one another, you know, that's outside of that realm. But you know, if you're just getting people eating their breakfast through a window, yeah, it's kind of like taking a picture of a car in front of a building. So what? People do that every day. Tell me a story that I don't see when I look outside, you know. And I think that's what kind of differentiates just sitting in a cafe eating. Yeah, yeah, and you do see that a lot. You see that a whole lot. Now, Max was saying the hardcore street guys they'll talk down to you if you're not shooting, you know, an 18 millimeter lens on full frame and you're this far in front of their face with a flash module, you know, and hitting them with flash. That is a style. That is also a style that I'm not going to do, because I'm not going to get right in someone's face unless, of course, I ask them and say, hey, you mind if I make a artistic image and I'm going to get about this far from you with a really wide angle lens, and I'll take the picture and we'll look at it together on the back of the camera, and if you like it, I'm going to keep it. If you don't, I'm going to delete it. You know, and I wouldn't, you know, if it tells a story, like, you know, a person is smoking and maybe right behind them up on the building is a no smoking sign that references a building, but they're out of the zone, you know, and you can get wide angle and get them smoking a cigarette with that sign superimposed in the background. It tells a neat little story, you know, of dissidence or something. But I would always clear it before I stuck my lens right in somebody's face. I'm just not that guy. I can't do it. Yeah, Axe uses a 24 to 85 or a 35 to 105. And the other day, Grant was shooting a prime, 180 millimeter prime, and he got great photos. Yeah, that is the Bruce Gilding crap that I find obtrusive. Too many people followed his lead. There would be a lot of beat up street photographers. Yeah. Yeah. He's probably been, you know, accosted because of it. Or he chooses his victims, you know, correctly so that he knows they're not going to do anything. But if he was to do it to the wrong guy who's having a bad day, he'd get that camera shoved down his throat. He better hope he can run. But yeah, that's I liked Grant's approach with the 180 millimeter, because it would allow him to basically put 20 or 30 feet between him and his subject. So a lot of times that would put them at ease a little bit, you might say, and let him get a little more candid of a shot without him getting right up on them. That was a convenience to that. But I found the 18 to 55, which is what, 24 to 70 if you did it in full frame. That worked really well for me. For like on same side sidewalk, 18 millimeters. If you was on across the street, rack it out to 55, and I rarely ran anything in between. It was all the way racked out or all the way racked in, and I had real good results. I could have been a little closer, but stepping out into an active thoroughfare to get a better shot photo just didn't seem like a real good idea to me. So I just accepted that I didn't have that extra range. And then Fuji comes out with a 16 to 80. Yeah, yeah. Short telephotos for street works really well. And I believe that's probably the best. I mean, all the guys from back in the film days ran 50 mil, and it was because they could run the Sunny 16, and with a f16 aperture, you have a super deep depth of field, and with a super deep depth of field, you didn't have to mess with the focus much, so you could literally just pull it up, snap the frame, pull it up, look through the viewfinder, get your composition, hit the frame, wind it, and by the time they realize you've taken the photo, you're already winding it to the next frame, and that's how they got all those cool photos. And nowadays the camera's doing a lot of thinking, and so we have to slow down. And I locked off several settings on my camera so it wouldn't chase that crap around. I think I set it to 640 on the ISO, and I set it to a 1/125th of a second shutter speed, and then I left the aperture in auto. That way I could freeze action, because I really wasn't looking for motion blur photos that day. I was kind of wanting to freeze action, so I went to 1/125 and just locked it there. That way the camera didn't have to do a lot of thinking, and it worked. It worked really well, especially at 18 millimeters. I got all of my 18 millimeter shots look great. Maxim's talking about he has no problem with longer lenses to have some distance and respect if you get permission to actively take their photo. Oh, crap. I do that every time. Then you can make a more pleasing street portrait off the cuff. Fuji 55 to 200 can be interesting sometimes. Wow. That's a long lens to use on street. 200 millimeters on crop. That's like a 300 millimeter telephoto. Dude, that's a lot of lens. Excuse me. But yeah, that's what Maxim was talking about. Asking them permission, to be able to make their portrait. And if they say no, be courteous. Say, okay, thank you, it's not a problem, and just move on. I asked literally yesterday a bus driver at the little bus pickup point in downtown Chattanooga. They have a little barn under a parking garage. They pull in, and it's a drive-through, and the bus will pull in there. It's a bus stop. And he was just sitting there, and there was nobody getting on the bus. He was just sitting there waiting until the timer ran out, and then he goes to the next bus stop. And I walked by, and he was friendly. He said hi and waved. And I said hi, and I stopped. And I went back, and I said, "Can I make your portrait?" And he said, "No, the city doesn't allow me." And I was like, he either doesn't want his portrait made, or the city legit has this rule. And I was like, "No problem, sir. I appreciate your time. You have a good day." And I walked on, And that way, nobody's mad. Nobody gets their feelings hurt. It would have been a really awesome portrait, because just sitting in the driver's seat with the door open, just chilling, it would have been like, man, this would be a cool photo. And it was going to be shot on film. Because I had the X700 Minolta with me yesterday. This is a nice live chat, David. It's nice to having people talk about photography, not just gear renting and bashing. Yeah, for real. I mean, there's enough of that already out there. I mean, but yeah, I just wanted to have a little live stream about street photography and what I have picked up over the last few months from playing with it. And that I'm really enjoying it. The more I do it, the more I like it. And actually it's something that me and Sierra have found common ground on. She likes doing it with me too. And I didn't realize she liked to shoot street photos as much as she does. Classic, what is it, 35 on a Leica, set at f8, pre-focused to 10 feet, Then just use the depth of field carry Where you the snapshots? Yeah, yeah, the Gary Winograd. Right. When you can afford a Leica. Yeah, but he does good work. He has a style. That's the magic. It's like I was watching yesterday. I don't remember. It was like a symposium on street photography in Miami, and there was a guy talking about several different photographers and how they had different styles, and these guys, they start out just shooting whatever, and then over time you see their style develop. And one guy was doing like comedic surrealism, and the reference photo he used, it was like the entrance to a fun house, and it was like a person's mouth wide open with their teeth out, and he caught a guy walking under it and took his photo, like the mouth on the wall was about to bite him and eat him, and yeah, and that's the kind of photos that tells an interesting story. It takes time out in the world to figure those sorts of things out. What do you think, all these bubblehead? Oh no, who want to show off First Amendment in photosensitive places like courthouses and government buildings just to cause a confrontation. That's They're just looking for attention. Who are my favorite street photographers? Honestly, John Free is one of them. I really like him. He's still a living photographer too. What's First Amendment? Martin's in Europe. He don't know what that is. The freedom of speech, to the right to meet in public places in groups, to redress the government for your grievances, What's funny is people don't understand our Bill of Rights apply to the whole world. These are rights endowed to you by your Creator. They're not rights granted to you by any government organization, which is comprised of a group of people. They're just acknowledging that these rights were given to you by God, whatever your God may be, and that no human on this planet can take them away from you. The Second Amendment doesn't protect you the right to have guns. It says that you have the right to defend yourself with the means available to you, whatever that is, that you so deem equivalent to what you need. And, and they also addressed a few things that were happening at the time that they didn't like no quartering of troops in your home during peacetime without your consent, because at the time the British military would go to the colonies, which was sovereign to England, and they could house the troops they could just come into your house and say, you're gonna house these 5 guys and you're gonna feed them, and they didn't have any choice in the matter. So they wrote that in, But yeah, it's kind of interesting. But I ain't gonna wander down that path too far. Yeah, I don't. No quartering of fruits. Yeah, we ain't allowed to cut our fruits into fourths anymore because of that. We have to cut them into fists. Takes a special knife to do that. Oh. But yeah, that's a common misconception, is that the government grants you those rights when no one reads the first 3 words and it says, "We the people," who give government the power, not our benevolent benefactors. But I ain't gonna go. Like I said, this is a photography live stream. I've went far enough into that. But yeah, no quartering of fruits. Maxon says the Patriot Act brought back a bunch of prohibiting photographs of military. Yeah, I don't even bother with that stuff, because you just wander into a whole bunch of problems if you play in those areas. That's why I don't push those boundaries. There's no point in it. Now, in an urban landscape, like I took a photo of the front of the U.S. Mint, and the guard out front had no problems with it. He said you can't do photography inside. Outside is perfectly fine. And I think it's because it's a giant, nondescript, concrete box. It literally is the plainest looking structure in the history of plain looking structures. So I got a big Dutch tilt photo of the words United States Mint And that was all I took of the mint. No, what's the reaction to street photography like in America? Are people most of the time, yeah, they some places don't want you photographing buildings. Like I've seen people. I haven't had this happen to me, but I've seen people who have had security guards for like banks, big banks like Bank of America's big office building and stuff. That'll come out and ask them not to photograph it. I've seen that in New York. They'll do it from time to time, but if they did, I'd be like, cool. I don't have to take a picture of your building. I was just thinking it was interesting. So, I got no problem with it. Like I said, it's all target of opportunity photos anyway, so I'll just move on. I don't have to get in a confrontation just so I can photograph this building, even if I'm legally right. Do I need that drama in my life? No, I don't need that drama. There's no value in it. You're not going to make a bunch of money off of this photo. You're taking it for your personal love of the craft. So why get in a big confrontation over it? That's what I think. But I haven't really had that problem. Now, occasionally I'll have someone like when me and Grant were out shooting. If Grant's still in here, he'll chime in and agree to this. There was a couple walking down the street towards us, and I asked them, would you be all right if I took your portrait? And they was like, and the gentleman was like, no, I don't want you to. I was like, cool, no problem, sir. And we just kept walking. But if you don't ask, the answer is always no. But you get more yeses than you do nos. Most of the time, people like having their photo taken. Yeah, thank you. I really enjoy his whole idea. He's got to look up the video on his 10-year project for the hobos in the train yards. No, they're not hobos. They call themselves something else, but they live in the rail yard, and he photographed them for like a decade. He did a long project on those guys. Yeah, Long Rider said it best. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And that's true. And I really agree with that mentality. So I try to be the non-confrontational street photog, But other ones I like. I like a lot of what Hugh Brownstone does, the guy that does the channel Three Blind Men and an Elephant. He shoots Leica. He lives in New York. He shoots street photos in Manhattan, and I like his stuff because whenever he is reviewing a new camera or whatever that he's got, he'll do a bunch of street photography with it, and his street photos are pretty cool. I really like seeing his street photos too. As far as the old ones, of course, everybody likes Henry Bresson. I mean, the man was a genius. He just was. I like his. And what's the lady who never told anybody about her work, and once she died, they found it? I can't remember her name now, but I really like her street photos. The one of the wedding dress with the '56 Chevrolet in the frame, that's a pretty cool photo. I can't remember her name now. That sucks. I hate it when I do that. But yeah, nobody even knew she was doing these street photos till she died, and someone bought her entire collection of photos. Can't remember her name now. I'll remember it after I end the stream. Interesting. 10 after 11. I've got some friends coming, and they're not here yet. Vivian Mayer. Yeah, that's her. Yeah, Vivian Mayer. I really like her stuff. She was a good street op. She just didn't realize it. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I like her style as well. She basically tried to capture life as she saw it. And she's trying to tell, I think we can't ask her, she's passed on now, but from looking at her photos, she tried to capture life as it was happening and tell the story like it happened, to where some people want to get a juxtaposition to tell a different story than what's really happening, tell their version of the story. And Yeah, I believe Vivian Mayer was trying to tell the story like life is actually going on. Rural street photography in obscurity. Interesting. I'll look him up. Yeah, because I thought I liked landscape photography. Back at the first of the year, I was spelling out I was going to find my way in photography this year, and I've ruled out landscape. And it's because the value isn't there for it, and I'm not patient enough for it, just to be honest with you. You only have two little slivers of the day when you can take landscape photos and be a landscape photographer. Right before dark and right after the sun starts to come up. And that's the rest of your day is what I guess you're editing. But yeah, Ansel Adams is cool. I like his work. You know, he's the quintessential landscape photographer. And I like Thomas Heaton. I like Nick Carver. Nick Carver's videos are awesome. I really like Nick Carver to watch his videos, and he does beautiful landscapes. I really like his landscape idea. but I just ain't a landscape photographer. I've tried to do it, and I like taking pictures of smaller things, like when I went over to Cloudland Canyon back a few months ago and got the water. I love water flow photos, streams in the fall, that sort of thing. But trying to get vistas, I just don't have the eye for it nor the patience. And it takes a lot of fortitude, you know, mental fortitude to do that. Because some days, I like James Popsis. He's from the UK. I really like his channel because he's a comedian doing photography, and he's really good at it. When the light gets bad, switch to black and white or macro. Yeah, really. I mean, that's it. Because I just can't find the scene. You know, these guys like Thomas Heaton and James, they can see the scene and make it so beautiful. And when I try to take those pictures, it looks like I'm taking a picture of grass. You know, that's what am I doing wrong? You know, yep, it's a tree. Okay, boringest tree ever. but yeah, I have found that I really do. I really enjoy street, and I found every time I go to Chattanooga now, I carry a camera of some sort. I carry it everywhere I go now, to where I had gotten to where I would take them with me, but I'd leave them in the truck, and now I've got one on me. Because I'm looking for that scene of something interest, you know. Maybe somebody's doing something interesting, or something happens while I'm there, and I can get a photo of it. And I've gotten where I really have started to really enjoy that. But yeah, I think I hear my company coming. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's my company. I'm gonna have to get off the live stream, guys. I've got some friends coming over that I've been looking for. They're about 20 minutes late, but it's been a lot of fun, guys. I really have enjoyed this stream. And tomorrow the video goes live from the photo walk in Philadelphia, and there is a lot of pictures in it, and y'all hopefully will enjoy it. I drivel on a few minutes, but then I go to the photos pretty quick. So it's not a long video since I just cut them into music. It worked pretty well. But yeah, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a while. I really do, and chatting about things. Y'all have a good one. I appreciate it. We'll see y'all soon. This is David, the Georgia photographer, and I'm out. We all go troll and slander people on YouTube now. Now that you've got the good out of your system, you can all be good little trolls and go over to somebody else's page and troll. Y'all have fun.